Today I'm going to show you the easiest way to photograph your pet invertebrates, whether it's jumping spiders, tarantulas or stick insects. This is a great method for photographing them. So in the last video you saw my video about the ultimate handheld macro photography setup. We're going to be using that in this video. Normally I just test them and then give you my feedback, whereas I thought to myself you might be interested in seeing the process of how I'm testing them, and that's with my pet jumping spiders. And a thought came to me, very quick setup I use for testing cameras, lenses and all kinds of lighting setups would be a great method for you to photograph your pet invertebrates at home. So it doesn't matter whether it's a jumping spider, a tarantula, a stick insect, isopods, scorpions. It doesn't matter, this setup works very, very well. So we are going to need some things. The most important part is our background. So for that, all you want to do is grab yourself some textures. Now if you go to my website, there's a link in the description, you can purchase these very textures that I'm using in this video. What we'll do is we print them out. Now for mine, I've actually laminated mine. This is a matte laminate, so it's not gloss, so it won't reflect the light from the flash, because sometimes you can get hot spots on your background from your flash. This is matte laminate, it won't do that. But you don't have to use those textures. You can use paper, you can use a towel. I don't like towels as much because you can see the fibers, whereas the texture, paper texture, works very well. And the way we're going to approach this is like it's in a photography studio. Now if you've ever been to a photography studio where they do model portraits, you'll see there's a seamless paper background. It comes up, down and curves round, and that's the exact same thing we're going to create here in this video. To do that, I am going to need a couple of platypods. Now you don't have to use platypods, but the reason I'm using platypods is they basically do the job. Now you won't be able to use bingo clip holders from Amazon for this, because the paper background will push your bingo clip holders over. The old tripod ones I used won't be able to do this either, but what works well is this. In fact, I'm going to use one platypod. I'm going to try and keep it budget friendly, okay? So we're going to use one platypod. On my normal setup I would have two, and I'll explain that as we get to it. But I've got an elbow. On the elbow we are going to attach a mini super clamp, and then that is going to attach onto the platypod. And what makes this work is the weight of the platypod makes it so the paper can't move. So we're going to position this like that. So it's like that. We can then place the paper into the platypod, and what we want to do is squish the paper down so that it creates a seamless background like that. So essentially it is like that, curved background. Now it doesn't matter what you use to hold your texture so long as it's curved. And what we want to do is, when we look at the front of the paper here, when we're looking at it we can't see past it, if you know what I mean. So this comes up and out of frame. There are multiple ways of doing it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my second one to show you exactly how I do it. And again, you don't need two platypods to do this. It's just it's easier. The way I'm doing it is just what I found to be the easiest way to do it, and it's exactly the same setup, except I'm holding the paper card one on each end. It's more stable. And the last thing I want to happen is for the card to flick and your pet goes flying across the room, albeit it's probably quite funny, but it's probably not the best thing for your pet though, is it? Right, so there we go. So that is the setup. What you can do as well is you can also tape this part down. I generally find that we don't need to do that. And again, the reason this works so well is the platypods are heavy, so the card can't move. Now if you're using thinner paper, then you don't need as much sturdiness, but this is a great setup for photographing your pets. So your pets you place onto here and you take pictures of them. Now in order to do that, you want it close to the edge of your desk, which we are going to do. Well, I'm going to show you a live demonstration of this. I'm not one of them YouTubers that just talks with pictures, okay? I will show you, but I have to set it all up and talk you through it before I get the spider out, because once the spider's out I'm not really going to be able to talk, because I'm going to be concentrating on the spider. Now a little tip I can give you as well when you are doing this with your pets is to have a capture cup. if your pet bolts, you can just place the capture cup over the top of them. And what I found as well is, if you leave them there for a couple of minutes in the capture cup, they can calm down. You can just take the capture cup off and you can photograph them. Anyone who's been on one of my jumping spider workshops that are also available from my website will have seen this technique in action, and they think it's fantastic. It's a really good way of photographing them. So the first thing we want to do is to get our jumping spider out. So for that, I'm going to use one of my smaller cards. These are the A6 cards. And what these are great for is if your spider comes off the main card, which we don't want to be moving it, and is wandering around your table, you can let them wander onto this card and place them back onto the scene or into the enclosure if they are starting to get stressed out. And again, if your spider does start to stress out, then put them back into their enclosure. Right, let's get my new jumping spider out. And there she is. Beautiful little spider. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my hand around the spider while I put the enclosure back. And what this does is, one, it keeps them safe because they're not going to jump off. She's not going to run around or anything like that and get caught on any of this gear. And the other thing as well is, I don't know if it's because of the darkness. I don't know if it's because of the smell. They get used to you. Here she comes, look. They get used to you. Okay, and you can see how calm she is. Whereas when I got her out, she was running around. Now she's nice and calm. So that is one way to be able to calm them down. Don't close your hand too much because you might squish them. Yeah. Yeah. In my head, I shouldn't have to be telling you that, but you know what the internet's like. Yeah. Just close it lightly on the spider. It calms them down and allows them to just start walking around. So you can see how calm she is now. Look. Now, the one issue you might have is getting them from there onto your card, because once they calm down on your hand, they kind of like sitting on your hand. So we've got to get her down to there. And then what I'll do is I'll put the capture cup over her, which will calm her down. Hopefully she'll go voluntarily. There we go. So she's there. Capture cup's there just to stop her wandering off, and that's there because I'm talking to you. If I wasn't recording a video, I wouldn't need that because I'll be concentrating on her. So let's take our camera. And again, this is the OM1 Mark II with the 90mm macro lens, and we have the Cygnus Tech diffuser that's attached to the V863 from Godox. I'm going to switch to my C1 setting, which is my macro setting, single shot TTL. So for that, we're going to be using I'm going to go to the uppermost limit of the f-stop for this setup, which is f14. After f14, diffraction starts to kick in and can affect your images. You can still use higher f-stops, just beware that you might have to use some post-sharpening to correct the softness. So I'm going to turn off the autofocus, and unlike the previous model when I have to press the button to turn it off, I can just simply do the clutch. That is now in manual focus, and I can set it to 2 to 1, which is probably too close for this spider. I'm going to go 1 to 1 on that. Okay. Now for this next part, what I'm going to do is move the entire setup to the edge of the desk here. I'm going to take the chair out the way so as I can get down low. I want to ideally get to the same height as the spider, and we'll start taking some pictures. So whilst she's in the pot, I'm going to have a look at the framing so we're not messing around when she's actually out of the pot. And she's way too big in that frame. So let's go to half life size. Okay, a bit closer. So we're going to go with... We're just short of 1 to 1, so it's probably 0.8 to 1 life size. Okay, so okay, so that's 3 shots. Within 3 shots, we've already got a shot that's good, which is, in my opinion, that shot right there. Now, I'm not going to talk about focus bracketing in this video. If your pet is cooperative and keeping still, you can switch to your focus bracketing. So for me, it's just one little button. So on this particular setup, you have to engage the clutch so it autofocus works, and then press your autofocus bracketing button. So again, I mapped it to the lens here at the front to enable you to do your focus bracketing. But that is, I'm pretty sure it's an easy setup. So before I continue, I'm going to just put the jumper spider away so she's safe, because I don't want to be talking to you while she's on there. Okay, so I'm just going to put her to the side. She's safe in that cup now. So again, you want 2 holders that hold a piece of paper, card, plastic, fabric, anything like that. We have a seamless background, so there's nothing in the background distracting. You have something that's flat and safe for your pet to walk on. And again, you can place a cup over the top to secure them if they do get stressed out. Now, if you want a more natural look, because at the moment I like the abstract look of this paper, so the brighter the better. But if you want a normal looking, more natural look, then what you can do is replace this paper with a large leaf. So it can be a green leaf, it can also be a brown leaf. It doesn't matter what type of leaf you use, but it's done in exactly the same way. And your clamps are going to hold the leaf like you can see in this footage here, and you get a nice seamless background. So there is the easiest way to photograph your pet invertebrate. A piece of coloured texture card, again available from my website if you wish to purchase them and help support the channel. You don't have to, and I always tell you that you don't have to. So any type of texture, you can even use a cereal box, plastic bag for instance. You can use anything like that. I like these textures because they're quite vibrant. The texture that you've seen in this video is from my bright and cheerful texture pack, so if you want that exact same texture you can go and get that. But then you need 2 clamps to hold them. Them clamps can be anything you want to. You don't have to use the Platypod gear, but if you want the best, the Platypod gear is the best for doing that. And then you create a seamless background, and then you place your pet onto it and you just start taking pictures. So I hope you found that useful for you budding macro photographers out there that want to take pictures of your pets. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this quick, easy and cost-effective setup for your pet invertebrate photography. But that's where I'll leave this video. My name's Stewart Wood, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe and click the like button. It really does help out the channel. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for their continued support in supporting me and this channel. If you're interested in joining Patreon, then check in the description below this video for a link to Patreon. If you want to continue watching my macro journey, then click one of the videos in front of you now.